On air. All right, there we go. And welcome everyone to another episode of the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova. And I've got with me the head ninja in charge right now, the Brawlers Avenue.
Sure.
Go ahead, man. Den Abary, go ahead, introduce yourself, man. Plug your channel, plug everything you're doing. I'm so honored to have you on here, man.
Thanks, I appreciate it. What's up, guys, man? This is Mr. Dean, aka Dean Abary, aka the Beat 'em Up God.
Sure.
You guys can find me at Brawlers Avenue or Dean Abary. I'm trying to keep it as consistent as possible. Search it; it'll be everywhere as under Dean Abary or Brawlers Avenue, except Facebook. Facebook is on some BS. So Facebook page is Brawlers Ave with AVE instead of Avenue. But other than that, yeah, search up Brawlers Avenue, search up Den Abary, you'll find me.
All right, man. And, I gotta thank you because you put me on to Fighting Rage.
Hey, man, when you see a good beat 'em up, man, I spread it like wildfire.
I can't It's like every time I try to play anything else, I'm like, it's not Fighting Rage. Like the only other game I can go back and play, like on the level that I play Fighting Rage is, the Final Fight trilogy, the Streets of Rage trilogy, or the Double Dragon trilogy. Other than that, man, I can't get into a lot of the modern brawlers, especially Rage and Justice. It's not okay, people. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Well, when you play like we play beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
We see a good beat 'em up, and we remember Streets of Rage more than just that awesome game that was on the Genesis. So when we play a good beat 'em up like Fighting Rage, like we cling on to it like it's our next wife. But Raging Justice, I have to say that I've gotten kind of addicted to it in a way where it's like, I'm gonna beat this game. Like, I don't care what bullshit it throws at me, I'm beating this game. But yeah, it does need a lot of work. But I think what it really drives me to it though is because of the talking with the devs. The devs have a lot of passion for it. It's just I don't think they're as experienced in like the beat 'em up genre.
Mm-hmm.
And what made these games so addictive and great back then. And that's where their biggest gap has come from, because the game's this genre's been dead for a while.
Yeah. Oh man, it's been, with the exception of like Shenmue and Yakuza, we had some on and off games, especially like during the PS2 era, but I feel like the PlayStation 3, 360 era to now, it's radio silence.
Yeah. Well, the PS3 and 360 had quite a good lineup of action games, I should say, which I felt like was a great evolution of beat 'em ups, especially games like Mad World, Bayonetta, a lot of Platinum games, basically Platinum/Clover, because Clover before they were Platinum, they became Clover. Working under Capcom, they had Beautiful Joe, they had God Hand. Now those are PlayStation 2 era, but once they, it's weird. Like once the 360 generation came along, it's like Clover went from being Clover to Platinum, and then they just started doing good shit with Platinum.
Yeah.
So Platinum has been trying to keep things going. Same with Koei. Now I'm not a big fan of like the Warriors format. I feel like it's Hordes of Rage kind of thing. But they have been, sprinkling a lot of games in the genre. They had their Gundam, they've had their different anime games, and then of course they had Dynasty Warriors series as a whole. So we've been getting just not the traditional beat 'em ups until this decade.
Yeah. Definitely. And it seems like, indie devs are trying to bring it back, but even major studios are trying to bring it back, like Arc System Works. And, it seems like they're trying to bring back what is it? River City Ransom with the latest one, River City Underground, which I enjoy. I think it just needs to be on console. You know, I don't know why that's not on console.
I think what happened was because of all, and I was actually talking about this on my stream the other day while I was playing it. I think a lot of the copyright stuff and, you know, that whole situation with that, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but, you know, that person getting at them about their music. And they had to change the whole music and everything. So I think that put a halt in a lot of stuff that they were planning to do, because they had plans to make it moddable on Steam, like a whole modding system. They were planning to do that. And then they were also planning to port it out to consoles later down the line. So, I mean, it could still happen. I'm just not entirely sure. I don't know if ArcSys backs them in any more than just giving them the go ahead, or if it's just them, they're the ones that have to do it. So yeah, it kind of sucks. It seems like they're in limbo right now, but I you know, I want to say it will happen. Just not entirely sure about it.
Yeah, because I know that on the 3DS, was it? I think it was last year they got the River City Showdown, right? Or there were two different River City games that dropped.
Yeah, something Knights of something. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. So
but see, those games are like, they're basically just Kunio-kun in English. Like, they're not like River City Ransom Underground is like its own beast. Like, it's like like it's a continuation of like the US version of what we got. Whereas like River City Ransom games that we're getting from ArcSys are literally just translating games.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unfortunate, because I do like what Underground is doing. Like, I really feel like we've attached ourselves to the US version of River City Ransom. Now, I haven't really played the original until recently, but I can see, like, when people talk about it, that's what they talk about. It's just that game. They never talk about Kunio-kun, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that in itself is it's a continuation of the Renegade series, right?
Right, yeah. I think Renegade was another Kunio-kun game as well.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
If I remember correctly.
Now, speaking of those, like, did you play the Sega Master System version of Renegade or the NES version? I feel like the Master System version is so much better.
I've only played the arcade version, and I haven't really played it extensively.
Okay. All right, man. So I want to ask you, you know, what got you into gaming and, you know, becoming passionate about gaming and Brawlers as a genre?
Man, I had a Sega Genesis when I was 4 years old. That was the first time I had a console. And on that console was just Sonic the Hedgehog 1. That was it. That's all I had was Sonic. That's all I played was Sonic. And then, I think my 5th or 6th birthday came around and I got a SNES. And with that, I also got Super Street Fighter 2 for the Genesis. And for the SNES, I think I had Super Mario World. And then I think by that time I had Sonic 2. And my dad, you know, bought me a few other games. I can't recall all of them. But yeah, I think what really got me into gaming, though, because there was like it's really tough to say, because I've been playing games all my life. You know, my parents have always been up to date on the consoles and stuff. Like, they don't know anything about games, but as far as like buying me the consoles and stuff, they've been up to date. You know, I had the N64. The only thing I didn't really have was the PlayStation games. Like, I was off of PlayStation. But my cousins had PlayStation. My cousins had the classic NES and stuff. So when I went over there, that's what I was playing. I was playing Tekken. I was playing, what was it, Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, and all stuff when I was over there. So it was like I got the opposite when I went to go play over my cousins, and I had my stuff. The only thing I missed out on, I could say, is probably the Sega Saturn, because it was too expensive for my parents to buy. And then when I finally bought one, I had to trade it in for rent. Like, I till this day, I'm like, man, I gotta fix that at some point. But I think what really got me into gaming was the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Like I was playing games before, and I was a gamer at heart, but what really got me like looking into websites and everything was when I started playing on the Dreamcast.
And the Dreamcast, I just feel like I'm so mad that Sega had to call it quits on that, because that in itself, like Sega redefined everything. Like, you know, online gaming was because of them, you know, right. Especially MMOs, like console style MMO with Phantasy Star Online is because of them. Like they popularized it to the point where Final Fantasy had to go and copy it with Final Fantasy 11. And, you know, especially when it came to like their sports line, like, dude, they were taking EA 989 Studios. They were taking everybody to town when it came to sports. Oh, it's just Sega just
Dreamcast. Dreamcast had motion controls.
Yeah.
Dreamcast pioneered a lot of stuff.
You know, and it's such a shame because, you know, when you look back on it, it's like, man, that could have been it. The only thing is, if it had, like I one of my other guests said before, and I kind of agree with him on it, that the thing that killed the Dreamcast was when Sony included that DVD player.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny because Sega tried to follow up on that by having a DVD add-on to the
Really?
Dreamcast. Yeah, and it didn't come. Actually, no, I think it might have came out in Japan. I'm not sure. Either it came out in Japan, it was only in Japan, or it just got canceled altogether because they had just stopped producing the Dreamcast. If I remember correctly. I just remember seeing something about them trying to add a DVD feature to the Dreamcast. To be honest with you, I hated the PS2 for that. I hated the PS2 for having the DVD feature. And maybe it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I felt like at that point, that's where consoles started to stop being consoles.
Yeah.
Because it's like so many people that used to give me shit for always playing games all the time. And you're like, I don't mind, you know, expanding to other people. I'm not the type of person like, oh, no, it has to be ours. It has to be like, no, I'm not that kind of person. But to have somebody like tell you that a console's better because it plays DVDs. I'm like, dude, that's not what I get a console for. I mean, all right, I'll give them some kind of credit. PS2 probably is the cheapest DVD player you could have gotten at the time.
Yeah.
That was the draw. Because DVD players were expensive as hell. And getting a PS2, you would ever get a DVD player and on top of that you play games. So that was cool. It was just so annoying to just like try to explain to people, look, man, Dreamcast has a lineup of great games. What are you talking about? I don't care about DVDs. I got a DVD player.
I think, you know, with the Dreamcast, I really can't remember there being that many bad games on it. I feel like it was hit after hit after hit, the Dreamcast. I remember I didn't get the PlayStation 2 until like maybe 2003, around 2003. But I remember when my friends had got it, and I would go over to their place, and then they'd be like, "Oh man, like these games don't feel that good. Like they don't look as good as they hype it. They don't play as good." I remember they got the bouncer. A lot of people didn't like it, which I didn't mind it. I just didn't think it was that well optimized. But then we would always go back and throw in like Zombies Revenge on the Dreamcast and just have way more fun with it. Because I feel like the Dreamcast did what like Nintendo's doing now. They focused on games first, multimedia second.
I think what it was is that the Dreamcast was basically, and this is what Sega has always done, was basically the arcade in your living room.
Yeah.
So it created a platform for addictive games. Whereas PlayStation 2 was, I would have to say PlayStation 2 took the kind of Nintendo spot here where it was just like their home console games. And with home console games, it took time for that to start to actually build up to being better games. Whereas like Dreamcast was like, nah, we got the arcade shit and it's right here in front of you now. So it's just like people transitioning from arcade to home, they had it. It was right. And Sega had always done that with their consoles. which is why me personally, like, I can't see them coming back into the market now, because I mean, maybe in Japan, I'm not sure. You know, I don't know how things are in Japan, but that arcade experience is not really there. And nowadays, consoles are basically just lesser PCs now.
Yeah.
So it's like, what can Sega really bring that other consoles don't already have? And then, you know, on top of that, I feel like maybe exclusivity would probably hurt them more because, you know, right now they're doing pretty good being multi-platform.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and it's like when you think about it now, like if you were to compare, I think this is also where like a lot of the younger generation, they don't quite understand what it was like, you know, understanding the gaming market back in, you know, the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, where each console was fundamentally different. You know, you had whole different experiences on the Genesis to the SNES to the 3DO to the Jaguar to the TurboGrafx 16. Like, it is kind of amazing when I talk to a lot of younger people and I tell them how the 90s were. I'm like, yeah, we had like 10 different platforms at one time. They're like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Because they're only used to 3.
Exclusives were exclusives, though, back then, too. Like, Sony exclusives don't feel like Sony exclusive. They feel like they're exclusive now, but eventually the trend's going to turn and it's going to be on some other console.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, they used to feel like Sony exclusives back, like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. Like, Tekken, that was PlayStation.
Yep.
You weren't getting Tekken nowhere else. You weren't getting Final Fantasy anywhere else. You sure as hell weren't getting Crash Bandicoot or Spyro anywhere else. And, you know, God of War and Yakuza, same thing. You know, they're still the same thing now. But it's like, nowadays, it's like everything's just so interchangeable. And then on top of that, it's like, well, now it's on PC too, because that stuff used to be exclusive from PC. That stuff wouldn't even be on PC. You know, unless unless it was Microsoft, because Microsoft would occasionally put their stuff on PC. You know, now Microsoft's, you know, fully gone full, like, cross-platform with, you know, their PC, understandably. But it's like back then, it's like, no, you got a Sega console, you got Sega games. When you got a Nintendo console, you got Nintendo games. When you picked up a 3DO, you were getting 3DO games. Neo Geo, you were getting expensive-ass Neo Geo games that you probably never be able to buy in your life.
They were like, what, 200 and up a pop just for the game.
Man, I showed my dad that. I was like, hey, Dad, can I get a Neo Geo? And he's like, Neo what? You saw that price? No.
I don't even know anyone that actually owned a Neo Geo back in the day, but God, dude, like when it came, and I have to give Neo Geo their props because they were the only company out there aside from NetherRealm, well, not NetherRealm, where were they back then? They were Midway. They were able to give Capcom a run for their money when it came to fighters. And it's kind of funny when I talk to a lot of the current generation, they're like, oh, the SNK games seem like copies of, you know, Street Fighter. I'm like, well, if you guys understood the background of it, the people who made their first Street Fighter or Fighting Street left and went to form, what, SNK, I believe. So that's why Art of Fighting is so similar to Street Fighter. Ryo and Ryu are so similar because it's a new take on the same character.
I have to give SNK their props because, for the most part, they've always been a niche company.
Yeah.
Even now they're a niche company. Like, KOF looks awesome, but it's like, I feel like it's really, really just for the fan base, you know. And they're in a good position right now because it's like they don't have to compete with Street Fighter anymore. Like, they don't have to compete. I want another Capcom versus SNK though.
Yeah, they need to come out with 3 because, you know, at this point I don't want to see. I mean, I kind of feel like we're already seeing Tekken cross Street Fighter because when they put Akuma in there, it kind of felt like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do with it.
I think that's all they're gonna do, honestly. I think Tekken cross Street Fighter is dead, and that's really unfortunate. I actually think that they could still potentially bring it back and do something good with it. Yeah, that's the only thing with Capcom right now is that they're. I don't want to shit on them for experimenting because they, that's what they're doing. They're experimenting. They're trying to find what kind of platform works. But it's hurting them,
Yeah.
And I loved Cross. I loved Cross Tekken. I just didn't like the gyms. I really felt like, if they just left the gyms out of it, it would have been just a solid fighter on its own.
Yeah, because I mean, fundamentally, it just took the Super Street Fighter 4 engine, and I felt like it improved upon with the custom combos. Like, I didn't think anything was wrong with it, other than the fact that, one thing I did dislike was the fact that the Tekken characters, they moved slower, they felt a little bit heavier, and they were kind of at a slight disadvantage when it came to going up against the Street Fighter cast because the lack of projectiles. But the offset of that was they had more combo heavy moves. So I thought Capcom did well with it.
Did the Tekken characters have sidestep? Because I'm a scrub when it comes to the fighting games. So I don't know a lot about mechanics and stuff. I don't know, but if they didn't have a sidestep, I kind of thought they should have had a sidestep.
I think they had like a duck under dash forward to deal with the projectiles.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it worked, and I think because when you go back and look at like the reviews for it and the fan base, the people actually liked the game. I think the only thing that killed it was the DLC on the disc.
Yeah, the DLC, but and the gyms too, because the gyms, the way they feed the gyms is just. I kind of felt like the Tekken characters were heavy and stuff there because they were trying to do basically what they did with Capcom versus SNK, where the SNK characters played SNK like. Yeah, but I feel like they should have did a groove system for that.
Yeah, they should have.
That's what I think they should have done, and that probably would have balanced things out a little bit more.
Yeah, man, they definitely should have did that.
But so many people, like at first before it came out, they were so skeptical about it. One dude that I'm really cool with, Don Vecta, he felt like it was mixing water with oil. And I'm like, I don't know, man. You got to give it a chance, man, because I know going from a 3D fighter to a 2D transition is gonna be pretty rough. But I mean, this is Capcom we're talking about, man. Who really would have thought about X-Men crossing over Street Fighter?
Exactly.
Before that happened, because it's like now it's a common thing. Now it's just like, oh, we have to see that. That's a necessity for their crossovers now.
Yep.
But back before it happened, who the hell even thought that was ever going to happen? That was the arts level of crossing over type of stuff.
Yep.
If you talked about that, people thought you were crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that you never would have seen happen. And I feel like the whole reason that they did that was because SNK kind of pushed them into doing it when they started out with the King of Fighters series. You can remember because like SNK, you had Art of Fighting, you had Fatal Fury, and then all these series were basically in the same universe but separated by a decade or so. And then they were like, hey, what happens if we just throw all of our franchises into a fighter? And then King of Fighters came out. So I feel like Capcom was like, okay, we got to do something. Who can we collab with? They could have did it with Final Fight, but then they went, oh, we got X-Men, because I think they were already doing the X-Men games, like the side scrollers and that one fighting game.
Yeah, they were already doing some Marvel games already. So they did Marvel superheroes. Oh, no, they did X-Men first. They did an X-Men fighting game, and then they did a Marvel superhero fighting game.
Yeah.
And then they did start doing the crossovers, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And I was actually saying this. I was saying this in the chat because when I invited you to chat, I think it was yesterday. I was actually saying this in the chat room. I felt like Street Fighter Alpha 3 was basically Street Fighter Mega Mix. Like I felt like if there was going to be an Alpha 4, it would eventually include Street Fighter 3 characters. And I felt like they should have just taken the Alpha series and just continued doing that Mega Mix type of thing. Yeah. Because think about what Alpha consists of: Street Fighter 1 characters, Street Fighter 2 characters, Final Fight characters, and then some new characters on top of that. And then later down the line, when you get upper and max for Street Fighter Alpha 3, you start to include Street Fighter 3 characters. So they kind of have a formula there where they can take Alpha, and Alpha has its groove system already. all you got to do is start adding group systems for Street Fighter 3. So I felt like they could have done like a Alpha 4 or something like that, and that could have been a Mega Mix thing. And they could have started including other series too, like Rival Schools, for example. When does Rival Schools even take place? At one point, people when Sakura was in the first one, I guess there's a non-canon cameo now, but yeah, from what I'm hearing, Rival School actually takes place sometime after Street Fighter 3 or during Street Fighter 3, somewhere in that timeline. So Sakura would actually probably be in her gym outfit or something. At least that's what I heard from as far as Project Justice, the sequel. But they can start including stuff like that. It's a good way to get these other fighting games that may not get a new fighting game ever into the thing. Just make it make their own little Mega Mix, make their own little King of Fighters. That was kind of weird too when SNK came out with Neo Geo Battle Coliseum.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is like King of Fighters extended.
It really was though.
Well, it's like maybe they just thought we're getting a little bit too crazy adding characters like Athena's KOF. Let's just make a full-blown crossover with all of our characters. I hope they make another one of those though.
Yeah, because that was actually a very good fighting series, fighting game in itself. I liked how they made, they brought in the older Rio and Robert, and I love the way they played. Plus, you had the Mark of the Wolves, Terry, and Rock, and it's just it was. I thought it was amazing.
But Ricky 1 is one game I've been wanting to play, and I never got to play it. But
I haven't either.
I have a bucket list goal. If I get this arcade open, to find an arcade machine of Bariki 1 and get it up in
there. Hey, so speaking of that, man, I want you to talk about some of the projects you got going,
Currently I am working on Project Neo, which is, it's kind of tough to say what it is because on one hand, it's like a project that I want to pitch to Sega as like a Streets of Rage 4.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, as I was saying on Discord the other day, I kind of feel like I don't want a sequel to Streets of Rage anymore. I just want to see more spiritual sequels come out now. Because I was saying before, if Fighting Rage was, because I like to poke fun and be like, yeah, Fighting Rage is basically another Capcom brawler.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting Rage were the theoretical Final Fight 4, or the next Battletoads, or the next Streets of Rage 4, or whatever. It would have been held back. It wouldn't be as great as it is.
Yeah.
Or at least it wouldn't be the game that we know it is. And I feel like that's the only thing that kind of holds projects back, is trying to be too much like a certain game. So that's kind of where I'm at in limbo there, trying to figure out do I want this to just be an original project, or do I want to try to actually pitch this to Sega as a legitimate Streets of Rage 4? Because I could do either. But if it's an original project, I can go a little bit more crazy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got limitations in my head as far as okay, I'm not gonna do juggling for a Streets of Rage game, because Streets of Rage is a very grounded game. I may add a character that can juggle, or I may add a character that may have the ability to hit people in the air,
mm-hmm.
If you're really good with them. But I wouldn't make it a main mechanic for that. Whereas if, Project Neo on its own, I may expand a little bit more to juggling and air combos. Because, juggling air combos is hard to get done right and beat them up. Fighting Rage is one of the few games that does it right.
Yeah. And for any of y'all, and for anyone out there that's watching, y'all need to play Fighting Rage. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. It's going to become the standard which you judge every other brawler that comes out by. So.
Right. And it's a good time to play it now, because if you had played it back when it first came out, that game was hard. people think this game is hard now. No, that game was hard. If you played on hard mode, you had to start every level over at the beginning if you lost all your lives.
Damn, really?
Style. Yeah, he had to patch that because people were just like, man, I can't even get through hard. I'm like, I mean, I can get through hard. I can 1cc hard. I can't 1cc hardest. Like I actually just barely beat hardest the other day on my stream because I was actually able to use checkpoints. Because prior to that, I was like, man, dude, I was just fuming. I had to rage quit, man, because I was like, I have to stop, dude. Because because my condition, there's a lot of stress things that happen with my condition. So
yeah,
hey, man, and I was having fun, but at the same time, it's like you get that that's the thing. That's the beauty of fighting rage. Like you are raging, but you're having fun at the same time. Yeah. Like you want to beat this game. Like you're only raging because it's challenging the hell out of you. So yeah, it's a good time to get into it now because it's a lot easier. It's a little bit more beginner friendly. I still think it's a bit long for a beat 'em up.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's still it's a lot more beginner friendly now. Because back then that was for the hardcores when it first came out. That was the guys coming off of Streets of Rage 3, ready to play that.
And that's the amazing thing too is like for a lot of you out there who may not be familiar with Fighting Rage, is actually produced by one person. And
and I can tell you right now from experience as a guy who is working on 2 different beat 'em up projects on its own. Yeah, no. I mean, he had a guy do the music and the audio stuff. It's like free packs that he downloaded. But outside of that, he did all the program, he did all the art, everything else, all him. And yeah, I could tell you from experience that is quite the stressful venture, especially when you're a lot of people think like indie developers that work in their home got a lot of time. No, dude, your time limit is when am I going to be able to pay this bill this month?
Yeah.
You don't have that safety net of, oh, well, I'm working all these hours out of my day, but I'm getting paid, I'm getting paid to do it. It's like when you're an indie dev, you're trading time and money a lot of times. Like it's either I'm working on this project hoping that I can get this going and hopefully make back the money that I would have probably been making if I worked some 9 to 5 right now. Mm-hmm. Or you're working your 9 to 5 and you're trying to find time to work on your project. There really is no in between for that. And that pretty much brings me back to like my project. I've been working on Project Neo for a good 2 years now. And I think it's mainly my perfectionism that's killing me right now, because I probably could have had a demo out by last year, but there's so much stuff. I'm like, no, I gotta fix this. Nah. Play tested, and I'm like, nope, I'm not letting it go.
What's the percentage of how far you're along with completing it?
So I do the animations and sprites as well as the programming. Mm-hmm. I would say that a demo, or at least something of a preview, is about 30% ready. Mm-hmm. As far as the full game, 1%. I think that's a joke among indie developers, is that your game is always 1% until it's done.
Hey man, like I would love to see you work with like Limited Run Games or NIS America and put something out, because get them resources, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I want to reboot and my other project, Deadly Metropolis. I actually want to reboot that one and see if I can get like a Kickstarter going for it, because that one I had a team, and then it was a bit of a fallout. So brings back to doing it by myself now. But that one's all original, and that one is a more I lost the word, but ambitious. It's a more ambitious project. You know, that one is more like a 2D Yakuza Shenmue type of deal.
Okay.
And I'm still like bouncing between whether I want to have it even have multiplayer, you know, because it's like a full story that I'm trying to tell with it.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some of the artwork you have for it, man. It looks solid.
Yeah. It's based on a lot of ideas that I have floating in my head since I was in middle school actually.
Oh wow.
So it's been years in development up here. Not so much actually in development, but you know, it's been stewing in my brain for quite a long time.
That kind of brings me to my next question. Like, so what got you into creating, you know, not only the Brawlers Avenue, but you know, being able to do art design, animation, game development. You know, like what led you to being passionate and enough to want to create all this?
So as far as like artwork goes, you know, I've always been drawing. You know, drawing is just in my family. You know, a lot of people in my family are different types of artists. You know, there's people in my family that do music. There's people in my family that do art. Not a lot of game developers in my family. In fact, I think I might be the only one right now. But yeah, it's just mainly playing games that really got me into wanting to develop my own game. Mostly wanting to make my own Streets of Rage. Always been, man, I want to make a new Streets of Rage. I want to make a new Streets of Rage. And I want to make a new Streets of Rage. But that would always bounce off into other projects too. You know, I had a little fan project I was working on a while back called Final Fight Trilogy, where it took the Street Fighter Alpha style sprites and remade Final Fight 3, but with all the characters from the entire series.
Oh wow.
So that one's just kind of, you know, I still got stuff from that too. Like I may still show off some more stuff. I used to have a lot of that stuff up on my DeviantArt, but now I'm like refining, you know, how I want to show off my projects and my works and stuff. You know, I'm working on a site and all kinds of stuff. So eventually you'll be able to see that sweet ass Final Fight 3 guy animation that I made a while back. Maybe even a stage or something. Like I might go back into doing that as well. I also have like a little secret project that I'm trying to acquire a license for. One of the very small beat 'em ups that are very niche, but I love the series and I actually wanted to see it translated, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. So I actually want to go and remake it myself.
Okay.
So yeah, you know, I got a lot of projects bouncing around in my head. And it's always been like that growing up. You know, I've always bounced between, man, I love playing these games, but I kind of want to make them. And then Brawlers Avenue came about because of Streets of Rage Online. I was part of the Streets of Rage Online community for quite a while, and I've always been a prominent person in that community. I started off being a mod for the forums and stuff, and eventually I became one of the admins, and now I own the site. So I first started off branching out into different Sega beat 'em ups, and you know, seeing how Sega's inner workings go as far as beat 'em ups goes. So I was gonna make a Sega Brawlers site, but then I thought, nah, you know what, I like Final Fight as well. I like Rushing Beat. I like all these other beat 'em up games. Why don't I just do a full-on beat 'em up site community and stuff? And that's where Brawlers Avenue came about. It actually came about because of a stupid forum war. I was actually going to own Streets of Rage Online at an earlier point, but I was young at the time, dealing with school and stuff, so I couldn't keep up with everything. So the guy who owned the site transferred hands to somebody else behind my back, and that caused a whole big load of drama. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Screw it, man. I just go forward with my beat 'em up site like I wanted to. And that's when Brawlers Avenue started. And, there was a whole forum war between Brawlers Avenue and Streets of Rage Online. Looking back on it now, it was funny as it. I mean, I was laughing at it back then, but like now it's just even funnier. Especially because there's like, well, now I own Streets of Rage Online, and it's a branch of Brawlers Avenue now. So,
I mean, you have a very, very active community.
Oh yeah,
you guys are constantly going. Like sometimes I'm over here like, I don't know where I left off, but I'm just gonna try and read. That's why a lot of times I don't post anything because I'm trying to catch up.
I feel bad because a lot of people say that too. Like they have a very hard time keeping up. And it's like I feel bad, but I also feel happy about it because beat 'em up communities are typically dead all the time. All of the forums I've been to, there's been very little activity. So to know that like my community is thriving for a beat 'em up community. I mean, there is no Final Fight community anywhere. I looked, and I looked because a lot of the Final Fight fans were annoying me because I'm like, because it was actually a point where I didn't like Final Fight at first, but I didn't hate Final Fight because Streets of Rage. It's like no, I didn't like it because I was so used to playing Streets of Rage. When I went back to play Final Fight 1, it felt so archaic.
Yeah,
and I couldn't get used to how Final Fight played. Once I got used to how Final Fight played, and I realized, okay, now Final Fight and Streets of Rage are apples to oranges. You can't even play these games the same. That's when I really started enjoying it a lot more. And of course, I love the lore of Final Fight. So, people saying stories aren't too important to beat 'em ups. I kind of agree with them, but then I have to disagree because lore is what actually made me love Streets of Rage and Final Fight more than say Double Dragon. Like I can't even get into Double Dragon because the lore is just too weird and constantly fixed on the same story.
Yeah, like when you really look at like Double Dragon as a whole, because I'm a big Double Dragon fan, but when I go back and I'm playing through the plots of 1, 2, and 3, and now 4, since 4 is the sequel to. I think if we're gonna go by the lore, the arcade games aren't canon. It's the NES trilogy.
Yeah,
and 4, I believe, is after 2, but before 3. I think.
No. What happened was 3. Basically, I think the order goes 1, 2, 4, and then I think 3.
Yeah, because 3 was just so far different than 2, even 1.
Yeah.
It was freaking hard. I beat the game once and I'm like, I'm never touching it again. That's how bad 3 was. And I actually like 4. I know I've seen a lot of YouTubers crap all over 4. And it makes me wonder, I'm like, have you guys ever played 2? Because if you played 2 and enjoyed 2, you'll like 4. 4 is a refined 2.
I think that's the problem. I think the problem is people were expecting like, Double Dragon Neon type of stuff. Or they were expecting from Arxis to have some kind of HD Double Dragon. But, I say it all the time. I understand why they did it. Because when people talk about Double Dragon, they're not talking about the arcade games. They're not talking about Double Dragon Neon. They're not talking about Double Dragon Advance. They're not talking about Super Double Dragon. They're talking about the NES series.
Yeah.
That's what people remember. And to me, I feel like come on, for $5.
It wasn't, yeah.
What you guys were expecting? Like there was no leaks for this. The game just straight up came out. Like they announced it and then it came out. That was it. And they told for $5, I'm like, I'm not complaining. What did I really lose? It's a fun game. It's not like the game plays bad. It's just NES style.
Yeah.
Or a retroactive NES style, I should say.
And see, I gotta say this. Here's a part of me that finds a lot of fans and YouTubers kind of hypocritical because, the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon came out yesterday. People are all over that shit. People all over it. They love it. They're praising it. They're like, oh, it's better than Dracula's Curse, which I can admit it is to an extent. And I remember when Mighty Gun Volt Burst came out in the old Mega Man style, and people were all over it and they loved it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but they crapped on Mega Man 9. What was my 9 and 10 for it being AES style?
Yeah, they crapped on 9 and 10. They're crapping on Double Dragon 4, and I'm like,
that actually brings me back to what I was saying about like spiritual sequels versus actual sequels.
Yeah,
there's too much expectation for these sequels.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I think the biggest issue though is that with like games like Double Dragon and Mega Man, there is too much division on like what Mega Man and Double Dragon is.
Yeah.
I think that's why those games get crapped on for going back to NES style, in comparison to say Sonic Mania that went back to Genesis style and people loved it.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Mania got crapped on, in some circles.
Yeah, that's
going
true.
back to that style. So I mean, I can't even say Sonic Mania. As much as Sonic Mania, got more praise in comparison, I can't even say Sonic Mania didn't get crapped on for doing it. So when you have a fan base like that, it's tough to appease them. There's so many different things that people have, and, especially now, especially these classic games, because people have grown up with different eras of Mega Man.
Yeah.
Like, how many people have grown up with Mega Man X don't know what the fuck Mega Man, the classic Mega Man is?
Exactly.
So when they see this new Mega Man, this NES style, like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. It's just like when Mega Man. I remember when Mega Man 7 came out on Super Nintendo, and everyone crapped on it because it didn't play like Mega Man X. And then the same thing happened when they made Mega Man 8 on the PlayStation 2 and Saturn. I mean, on PlayStation 1 and the Saturn, and people crapped on that because it wasn't like X4. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And it really when they do stuff like that, it boxes the devs into corners, and they're like, what do we do?
Yeah. See, I think that's the fortunate thing for games like Final Fight and Streets of Rage, because you can bring those games back in the classic style, and I don't think anybody's gonna complain, honestly. Like there's not. I mean, there are people that do want to see a full-fledged 3D Streets of Rage, but it's very far few between, especially after Sonic Mania came out. People do want to see that classic style for Streets of Rage, because I mean that's all they've known for Streets of Rage. It's the safest thing to do.
I think coming. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, me personally, I can't decide what I want for a new Streets of Rage. That's why I'm worried about it. I'm like, I feel like it's gonna come out and it's gonna disappoint me in some kind of way. I'm gonna be that guy where it's like everybody's loving it, and I'm like, this game is shit.
I was gonna say though, when you think about it, Fighting Forces technically that was in the works of being Streets of Rage 4 originally, wasn't it?
Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of glad it wasn't. I kind of feel like we got the best of both worlds with it not being Streets of Rage, because on one hand, it is in the Streets of Rage 4, so the bad half of it, of being clunky and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to say that we had a clunky Streets of Rage.
Let's not talk about Fighting Force 2. Oh god.
Oh boy, Fighting Force was terrible, man. But on the other hand, we also got a glimpse of what Streets of Rage 4 would have been in 3D on a Saturn. So, we kind of got the best of both worlds, where we actually got to see what it might have been like, and stuff like that. So, and it's weird because, like I said, people are always gonna crap on me about this, but I love Final Fight Streetwise.
I haven't played it. I've only heard bad things about it, but I haven't played it. Like, if you had to compare Final Fight Streetwise to Urban Reign, which is better? Because they came out around the same time, I believe, right?
Yeah. In terms of, conveying that that style that was part of that era, that GTA gritty style.
Mm-hmm.
Urban Reign takes the cake because I do like its environments a little bit better than Final Fight Streetwise. Though
Mm-hmm.
Japantown Streetwise is god tier. I'd say that much. As far as gameplay, I'm going to be honest. I actually kind of like Streetwise a little bit better because Streetwise is more simplistic than Urban Reign.
How so?
Because Urban Reign has, if you play Tekken Force, you've played Urban Reign. Urban Reign's like an advanced Tekken Force. That's why I'm really annoyed that there's no Tekken Force Tekken 7. Because they could have taken where Urban Reign left off and put it into Tekken Force.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for something that's like really expansive, balls to the wall hard, then you want to go Urban Reign. But if you want something a little bit more simplistic and a more true to beat 'em up style, you want Streetwise. Because Streetwise, with its combo system and everything, it has a combo system. It has a pretty decent dodging system, which I didn't discover until after playing the game like 8 to 10 times. Didn't even know there was a dodging system. It has an instinct meter, which it enhances your moves and stuff. And then on top of that, you're learning moves from different people. You learn moves from Cody. Oh no, you learn moves from Guy and Hagar. Assumingly, you already learned moves from Cody. So it has a really good combat system. It's just everything else with Streetwise is just bad, So on the surface, Streetwise is pretty bad because of the very badly off-branching story, the unnecessary cussing for no reason that actually got toned down, ironically enough. But yeah, it's strange. It's strange for me to say that, but I've played Streetwise a lot more than I have played Urban Reign. I've owned both of them for the same amount of time.
Now, is the plot of Streetwise, is it canon? Because at the time it was canon, right? Or no?
I don't think the plot's canon. My theory is that the only canon that exists for Final Fight is the Final Fight and then the Street Fighter games. Like Final Fight 2, Final Fight 3, and anything else isn't canon, but the characters still exist in the universe.
Yeah, because I was kind of wondering about that, because it's like when you look at any of the references made to Final Fight by Capcom or in Street Fighter, they never talk about 2, 3. I think Revenge is canon.
Nah, Revenge is made by an American company. If I remember correctly, it was Capcom USA that made it. That's
not even canon.
Yeah, it's not canon, and it's not canon for the same reasons that I feel Final Fight 2 isn't canon, because it contradicts too much of what Capcom is setting up. Like the reason Cody went to jail, for example. Now, I mean, the reason Cody went to jail and Revenge could fit in, but the problem is that Revenge never resolved what happened to Jessica, as far as her getting kidnapped and stuff.
That's true. That's true.
Then there's also stuff like what was it? Now, I mean, granted, it's a fighting game, so all endings obviously can't be canon.
Yeah.
But there was this whole thing about Rolento invading Metro City and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of implied canon, but it's not really canon. And then there's stuff that contradicts what Capcom has set up. So yeah, as far as like what is canon in the Final Fight universe, I think Capcom has pretty much put it out there that it's Final Fight, and then whatever happens in the Street Fighter universe with these Final Fight characters is canon.
Yeah. And then, is go ahead.
Then like any of the other games are kind of loosely referenced because they have profiles for all the characters now from Mad Gear, from Mad Gear 2, from Skullcross, and even Kyle set up for Street Fighter 5. And in that they reference a lot of stuff from the games. But the way that they reference them, it's like for example, Belger, for example, it seems like he's not actually dead. And then the Mad Gear
What?
2. Yeah, that's what I was confused because they talk about him like present tense, like he's still alive. So I mean, but Final Fight 1 is still the same game where Rolento blew himself up with grenades and he's still alive. So he doesn't have any burns or anything, but for some odd reason that scar on his face is canon from guy cutting his face up with a kunai. So that's still, I mean, that's canon, but not him blowing himself up with grenades. So I'm kind of surprised Belger isn't technically dead. But Maki's father, for example, there's no mention of him from what I've seen in any of like the profiles or anything like that. But Guy's wife has been referenced, so she's still canon. Guy's still married. I don't even think Final Fight 2 story's been referenced yet as having happened. So, but like Mad Gear, like the guys who were previously Mad Gear 2 are now in their profiles. You see that they're just regular dudes that happen to get mixed up in Mad Gear. And then the same thing with Skullcross. These guys are just regular dudes that got kind of mixed up with Skullcross, and Skullcross is actually a subsidiary of Mad Gear still. So it's like Mad Gear hasn't fallen like it did in the SNES games. It's still, Mad Gear's still around, despite what happened in Final Fight 1 in the Street Fighter universe.
And I kind of feel like with the way they've been going with like Street Fighter Alpha, and especially with 4 and currently 5, they're making it so that Guy and Cody have a pretty prominent role in the overall story. And I know how I had a talk with a friend. We were discussing power levels of Street Fighter characters and Final Fight characters, and I told him, I was like, if we were to be completely honest, if we're going by the Udon comics, then Cody is significantly more powerful than Ryu or Ken.
Honestly, if you went by Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, he's more powerful than they are.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's entirely canon or not, because the only mention of it is when Oni talks to him after defeating him. And he says, if you didn't have those handcuffs on, you probably would have matched me. Or something like that. I'm like, okay, so if the only form of Akuma is saying that shit,
right,
about Cody, and he's telling him you're limiting yourself, and you probably could have matched me without those damn cuffs on. That says something to me.
Right? And they've been hinting like crazy with Cody. Like they haven't even officially said it, but like I remember seeing on Twitter like the image of the Street Fighter 5 logo with the breaking brick wall, and then they had the one with Hagar today. I was like, I feel like him coming back is going to bring a lot of people back to Street Fighter.
Yeah. It makes me mad that Street Fighter 5 is not on Xbox One. Because I would have been copped it so long ago if it was on Xbox. Because I have so many fighting games and beat 'em ups on the Xbox right now.
I kind of want to know, like, from your perspective, why do you think Sony and Capcom did that? Is it because of Killer Instinct? And
definitely because of Killer Instinct. People shit on Killer Instinct, but no. The moment Microsoft said, we got our own exclusive fighter, Sony was like, fuck that. Hold my beer. We lost Tekken, but we got some shit for you. Because it doesn't make any sense otherwise, because it's not like the 360 fan base of like Street Fighter 4 was bad.
No.
Street Fighter 4 did amazing on Xbox 360. So, I mean, but Capcom was in a situation where they needed that funding. And Sony saw that and it was like, hey, come here real quick. Let's have a talk. Come here real quick. I see you struggling. Get over here. You see that Killer Instinct shit over there? Yeah. No. Come here.
Man, it bothers me because I'm like, I feel like them doing that actually hurts Street Fighter more.
Yeah, I think it hurt it more, honestly. I mean, on top of that, then they had the platform where they're trying to do the same platform as Killer Instinct. It's like everybody's shitting on Capcom, but I'm like, well, they got it from Killer Instinct, bro.
And nobody was complaining about Killer Instinct for that either.
No, people were shitting on Killer Instinct for that. Like,
really?
Yeah, within the fan base, man. Oh boy, Killer Instinct forums were a mess in the first season because of the fact that it was only 6 characters at first, and
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it was pretty divided. There was people like me where I'm like, dude, let it simmer, let it simmer. Microsoft is taking a chance by making a new Killer Instinct. They're not trying to give us a full-blown AAA ass title on a game that may flop.
Yeah.
And it's simmer. What happens? 3 seasons later, we got a full game full of characters that are like 90% unique to each other.
Yeah. They play so. And I try to tell some of my friends that are into fighters, I'm like, have you picked up Killer Instinct? They're like, nah, it just plays like Street Fighter. I'm like,
no. But that's always been a thing against Killer Instinct. Everybody was always, oh, it's Mortal Kombat. Like it was always been it's always been compared to either Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. And that's just a series curse. But once people played it, they understood, oh, okay, this is its own beast.
I just wonder, at times I think about it, I'm like, man, if Nintendo had just kept that IP.
If Nintendo had just kept Rare, and that's the thing. That's actually the hilarious thing, because over the years, people were shitting on Microsoft because they have Rare, but they're never gonna make a new Killer Instinct. If Nintendo had Rare, they would have made a new Killer Instinct. I'm like, no, they wouldn't. Nintendo would have let Killer Instinct just sit there and be dead and keep teasing you about it, and it would have never came.
Yeah, like F-Zero.
Actually, Nintendo was even. It was Rare that was teasing it, because Rare was teasing it because they actually wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Nintendo wasn't going to let that happen. Hell, Donkey Kong Country, that dormant. And that's one of their main characters. You think Nintendo was going to have a Killer Instinct come out? No. We probably would have still not have seen the Killer Instinct. And yet Microsoft turned around and did it.
It's like one of the things when I hear people complain about the seasons for Street Fighter V, I ask people, I'm like, would you rather have the seasons where you can actually still unlock the characters by in-game fight money instead of paying to unlock everyone? Or would you rather they go back to the Street Fighter 2 formula?
Yeah, because Capcom can do either one.
Yeah,
but it's a knee-jerk reaction, and I think because nowadays everybody wants everything now.
Yeah.
So they see themselves as having to buy it instead of grinding to get it. But I'm like, dude, have you played fighting games back in the day? You played Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on Dreamcast? I had to leave my damn console on overnight.
Just
for days.
To
get everybody.
Oh man, I
remember how much longer it would have taken me if I just played through the game. Come on, this is baby shit compared to what they used to do with unlockable. Yep. You're lucky you have an option to buy the shit if you don't want to wait. I'm not gonna buy it. I'll just grind it out. Give me something for free, I'll grind it out.
So. Oh man! So I gotta ask you, man. Like, what do you think? On the topic of brawlers, like, what do you think led to the slow decline? And I guess you could say the ultimate death, but I kind of feel like it was a resurgence of the brawler genre.
Not being able to adapt. I think that's the issue. Beat 'em ups were hot in arcades because they were quick, fun, and addictive games. And that's what makes Streets of Rage so damn great, because it was nothing but a console beat 'em up. And they knew what they needed to do as far as making a console beat 'em up. And that's actually what separates it from Final Fight, because Final Fight came to consoles and it didn't do very well. Well, why? Well, Final Fight 1 was a crappy port, for one. Final Fight 2 tried to fix everything that Final Fight 1 did, but when they tried to, add things on, it just kind of dragged on a lot more. And it's because of stuff that they did not leave behind in arcades, like damage scaling, for example. No damage scale in a console beat 'em up. And then Final Fight 3 came along and finally did everything that, Final Fight 2 should have done. So, as far as like games that started off in arcades and came to consoles, it was a tough transition. Whereas like you didn't have a lot of games like Streets of Rage that were just console built beat 'em ups. And because of that, eventually they died off because people just referred to them as being button mashers that, got tedious after a while. And that's actually the biggest issue that still plagues the beat 'em up genre now, is that it's going to get tedious. That's why you can't have beat 'em ups that are like super long, unless you have a Yakuza style or a River City Ransom style that has a more story driven thing going on, where you have other stuff you have to do, or you have other stuff that you can do to kind of subside the tediousness of just constantly mashing on the button or doing these combos and stuff. So I think that in a sense that it did evolve, but the classic beat 'em up, it's kind of like what happened with fighting games. After Street Fighter 3 got panned out pretty bad, 2D fighters kind of went by the wayside for a bit. But 3D fighters were still around. We were still getting Virtual Fighter. We were still getting Mortal Kombat in 3D, even though they weren't super great games. They were still pretty fun to play. We were getting, Tekken and Tekken clones and stuff. So fighting games were still around. They just weren't as popular. But they were still evolving. So now we're coming back around where things are resurging. Now we're getting 2D fighters again, and now beat 'em ups are coming back.
Now, would you say like indie studios or indie game devs are actually attributing to the growth of the resurgence of the brawler genre?
Yes and no. I would say that they are contributing to like saturating the genre again. So that we know, what beat 'em ups, so people are actually starting to find out what beat 'em ups are. But as far as evolving the genre, it's not really going anywhere yet. Like, because I can't even say that even Fighting Rage, I can't say evolved the genre as opposed to refined what was left behind. And we need more beat 'em ups to do what Fighting Rage is doing, is refining, what was left behind, and then evolve it as well.
Yeah. So and I kind of want to ask you, because I know you're an expert on this. So Streets of Rage, I've heard the rumor that the whole reason that Sega made that is because Capcom, because of contractual obligations to Nintendo, couldn't put it on the Genesis. Is that the reason why?
I think it's true. I don't know if there was contract reasons behind them not having it on the Genesis, because eventually it did come to the CD. We did get Final Fight CD.
Yeah.
Which is ironic. Now if you had the Genesis and the CD, that means you got Streets of Rage and Final Fight. Final Fight CD was a damn good port. By the way, that's one of the top ports I would play if I would recommend to somebody. But yeah, that's another reason why I say that there will never be a Final Fight collection for anything other than a Nintendo console, is because all of those games were licensed by Nintendo. Final Fight 2, Final Fight 3, Mighty Final Fight, Final Fight SNES, Final Fight 1 for the GBA, of course, all licensed by Nintendo. I don't see them ever coming to any console other than the Switch. If there is going to be a Final Fight collection, it's very likely going to be either Switch exclusive. Actually, no, it's just going to be Switch exclusive, because what else could they do for a Final Fight collection outside of that console other than have Final Fight Revenge, and Final Fight Streetwise? That's not a collection anybody's gonna buy. I can tell you that right now. So yeah, I think what it was is at the time, Nintendo secured Final Fight as a port, as a comparison to the other games that got ports to the Genesis and the Nintendo. And Sega was like, all right, well, we got you. And then it came out Streets of Rage. And I'm thankful for it. Like, that's one of the things that I'm like, well, I can't hate Final Fight, because if it weren't for Final Fight, there wouldn't be a Streets of Rage.
Oh man. So there's some controversy with the game Rage and Justice, and you tagged me on it on Twitter, so we got to talk about it. So the hashtag score of justice.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on that and the game overall? And before we even get into that, explain to people what the score of justice is, in case they're not.
Okay, so the contest ended today. Score of Justice is just a little promotional thing that the team for Rage and Justice is doing, which I absolutely appreciate their enthusiasm and passion for that. Basically, what they're doing is they're giving away some Rage and Justice swag. You got a little mini arcade setup for your Nintendo Switch that has Rage and Justice decal on it, some buttons, and I think some beer coasters and stuff. So basically what it is that you go into their survival mode, which is called Brawl mode, and you fight in the bar stage, and then you basically just post your score. So basically, highest score by the 25th is the prize. Now, the problem with this is that score is the most abusable thing in any beat 'em up. That's why there's not a score attack, or there's not some kind of like scoring competition for Streets of Rage 2, because anybody who plays Mania can get the maxed out score. Score is just very easily abusable. So that was so basically what I showed you was the exploit that GreenaLink posted up. Basically, because I was like, man, nah, there's something wrong here, because everybody was just getting scores that were like in the 100,000s, 500,000, 600,000 or whatever. And then this guy comes out of nowhere with 1 million. Not just 1 million, almost 2 million in points. And I'm sitting there playing Brawl mode, barely be able to get into the 10,000s. Because just how the game is just like weird in its gameplay. So I'm like, okay, what did you do to get that score? Because I think he had did it on Steam, which is even worse, because I'm like, okay, that's on PC.
Yeah, you can easily hack or mod it.
Yeah, and come to find out, on the PC version, people were saying that you could pause the game, set your computer to sleep, and it won't disconnect from the internet. So you can pause the game during survival mode, just let it sit there, come back and play it again, and keep building on your score until you die or whatever. And then GreenaLink posted that exploit where you just keep grabbing, because the grabbing system in Rage and Justice is slippery as hell.
It's trash.
So you can use the hell out of the grabbing system, as well as the stomping mechanic, because the stomping mechanic is there to stun the enemy so that you can arrest them. So it doesn't do a lot of damage. So basically what he was doing in the exploit is he's abusing grab, and then he would do an infinite loop of stomping him and then doing the forward rush to knock him down again so he could stomp him again until he was dead. And he said just by doing that alone on that one enemy, he got up to about 1,900,000 points. So like the highest score for the contest was like 9 million something. Basically, it was just whoever could just grind it out and be as patient as possible, or leave their system on for long enough.
Oh my goodness. You know,
poor dude, I was like, nah, that's not gonna. Somebody's gonna exploit that horribly. They should have like maybe a time attack or something. Who can get the fastest time? That's a little bit less abusable.
See, it's the thing. Like, and I want people to know, Rage Injustice isn't a horrible game. I enjoyed some of the little nuances that they put into it. It's just when you've played refined beat 'em ups, and then you go to this, it's like, yeah. You
just expect more when you've played the genre for so damn long.
Yeah.
And it's tough because like I don't want to feel like an asshole, but at the same time, it's like, dude, this genre has always been saturated with games that are kind of mediocre. I've played so many of them. So many of them arcade games that are just like, oh, this is terrible. Oh, this drags out too long. Why did they do this? Why is it I can only hit one person at a time? Who does that? That's a beat 'em up sin. That should never happen. You should never do that. So it's like when I get to playing like the newer beat 'em ups, it's like, oh man, I hope that these guys have gone through the same hell that I've gone through, and they want to avoid these things as much as possible. Because I don't think they see it. They don't see the like the little issues and intricacies that we see because we've been playing so many different beat 'em ups, good and bad.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say too, because it's like that game had a lot of hype behind it, and I don't know why.
It's just their marketing team's great. I want their marketing team, man.
Because I remember people were just talking about like how great this game is. Oh, it's coming to consoles, and I'm over here like, it looks ugly, but everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, to me, like the style kind of came off as like, all right. It was kind of clay fighter-ish, so
yeah.
Like I like kind of like styles like that because they have a certain charm to it. Like, you know, it's a bit ugly, but it has a charm to it because like this is definitely like those classic. It's like I said, it's like those beat 'em ups that you see people playing in like the movies that is not an actual game. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's one of those games you would have saw in like one of those 90s movies where it's like, oh, they're playing Raging Justice. I'm like, oh, that's clearly just some fucking. We could get the rights to put Streets of Rage on the arcade thing, so we just made up our own thing, kind of thing. But now we actually have the game in our hands,
right? Oh man. Let's see. What's my next question? I was gonna ask you. Okay, Fighting Rage. I know I'm always hyping this game. So why aren't more people playing this gym?
Fighting Rage has the Double Dragon 4 issue without being Double Dragon 4. I mean, if you weren't following it like me, back when the guy was talking about it on Twitter and that's all he was doing was talking about it on Twitter, the game came out. It got announced, it then came out. Just like Double Dragon 4. It got announced 1 week before release and then came out. So if you weren't like me obsessing over the little animated GIFs that he would put on Twitter, if you weren't me obsessing over that, you had no idea about this game until it came out. So with that, couple that with the fact that it's only on Steam, he has no marketing team to market the game. Nobody knows about it. Like, we're the word of mouth for that game right now. That's why I push it so hard, because I'm like, no, if you love beat 'em ups, you got to play this game. Now, it's been on some channels now since it came out. It's been on the Best Friends, the Two Best Friends Play channel. A few other channels that I follow have played it now. But it needs more push.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to because I know the completionist likes to play games that people buy for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tempted to, like, once I get in a better financial state, just start buying copies and tossing it to some of these bigger channels. It's like, hey man, check this out. Maybe they'll check it out, maybe they won't. But I mean, it's a way to get it pushed out there, and that's a great way to get it pushed. Is if somebody like Maximilian Dude, for example, decides to play, because Maximilian Dude's more into fighting games, not really into beat 'em ups.
Mm-hmm.
But he always has his friends over on Saturdays, and this is a great game to be playing 3 players on. It's a party game. When you get to 3 players, that game, like I said, I played it with the kids, and we just had a fucking blast. And my kids are more into like the simple beat 'em ups like Castle Crashers. So for them to play something like Fighting Rage and have a lot of fun with it, it says a lot to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just it's kind of the curse of being an indie dev without a marketing team, without a team or whatever, being a solo indie dev, is that you don't have people to push your game like that. So yeah, you'll have a game like Raging Justice and the Takeover and stuff. They get a lot of push because Raging Justice has a marketing team, and then the Takeover has Matt from the Two Best Friends Play helping work on the game. So you got him pushing it. You got people to push these games, whereas Fighting Rage is just, hey, I know about Fighting Rage. Have you heard of Fighting Rage? Can I speak to you about our Lord and Savior, Fighting Rage? We got to go door to door, man. We got to go door to door with it.
Oh man. Oh. So so many in the West, they seem to have neglected, the Shenmue and the Yakuza series for nearly the entire run of both series. Yet since Yakuza 0, there's been a sharp spike in interest in both series, and now we got the announcement that the entire Yakuza series is going to be on PlayStation 4, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
So many are unaware. Sega basically, in a way, they evolved the brawler genre with both Shenmue and its spiritual successor Yakuza. So, what is your take on this?
I actually think Sega started it off with Spike Out.
I've never played it. I heard of it. I never played it.
Started off as a arcade game, and then they ported it to the Xbox. Now, it was a technical port. It was more of a remake using new generational cast, but you could unlock all the older characters. So essentially, it was a remake and a reboot all in one. I'm not a big fan of how Spike Out works because at a pro level, you're basically just juggling a guy in a corner, and that's boring as hell to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a start, and it was a start of like Yakuza's fighting system. I think the reason why Yakuza wasn't panned very well is because, again, it was marketed as a GTA game, and word of mouth. Well, I think in the sense that it was both word of mouth and how it was marketed. Because when the US team marketed it as a GTA game, and then they kind of tried to correct that with Yakuza 2, but it was too late.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why there's a spike in interest is that I think it's more of a vocal minority than a majority kind of thing. The vocal minority has shown that they're willing to support these games a lot more, because you still got a majority of people saying, what the hell is Shenmue? You still got a majority of people not really looking at Yakuza as something that they want to buy. But the vocal minority is enough to push out there where it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to support the hell out of it that comes out here. And Sega sees that and they want to jump into it. So, but yeah, Sega has definitely done a ton for the genre. Because of Yakuza, because of Mad World. Even though that was Platinum, that was a call Platinum. So, Mad World came about, and that was a really great 3D beat 'em up game. That is a game where I can legitimately say it's not an action game. It's actually a 3D beat 'em up game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard to say that with games like Yakuza because people want to say that those are action RPGs, or they want to say that Bayonetta is a character action game, or that Anarchy Reigns is a arena fighter. You know, so many different smaller terms. But needless to say, like as far as like beat 'em ups go in the modern genre, it's either been Capcom or Sega. And it's kind of weird because it feels like it's always been like that. It's always been Capcom and Sega. You know, then you got all these other companies that, you know, they sprinkle their little cool stuff in there. You know, kind of be back when they were cool.
Oh man. So you know, we're winding down to our last two questions. So I wanted to ask, you know, with Capcom teasing the ever living hell out of Cody as the next DLC character for Street Fighter V, do you think that there is a chance that we will ever see a new Final Fight?
To me, it's up in the air because it just seems like it would be something that would be in Capcom's interest. But the way things are going for Capcom right now, I just don't see it happening yet because they're just struggling left and right. And that's what kind of irritates me about Street Fighter V being shit on because I'm like, I feel like Street Fighter V is actually going in a good direction, especially with the platform of letting you unlock characters for free by playing the game and giving you the option to buy them if you want to buy them. So I feel like, and you know, Moonbot actually theorized that, you know, Cody would have been announced at E3 and they were going to announce a Final Fight aside with him. Because I'm like, well, yeah, that's probably the only reason why they would announce a character at E3. Because Capcom doesn't typically do that. They usually announce characters at tournaments and shit. Which, come to find out, Combo Breakers where he's going to be announced. So,
yeah.
So that kind of put a dent in Moonbot's theory there. But I mean, you know, you never know. We could see it happen. You know, Capcom does kind of pull a fast one on us sometimes with things. I can't really say Mega Man is one of them because Mega Man 11, like I said, like, you know, Mega Man 11 has been teased for a while. Like they weren't saying it, but they were saying it because, you know, they're constantly doing stuff with Mega Man over and over and over again. Of course, everybody's going to ask, so where's Mega Man 11 then?
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually thinking that they're probably going to do another Mega Man X too.
I'm thinking we're going to get an X9.
Yeah. I'm thinking we're going to get an X9 because I think that's their next step. I think they wanted to play the testing field. You know, they threw out these collections. They wanted to see where it goes. You know, they've been doing stuff with Mega Man here and there, you know, letting them be in Smash and all that stuff. I think another X game is going to be down the pipeline. As far as Final Fight, though, you know, that's another reason why I think Final Fight 4 it could happen, you know, because they have been doing a lot of teasing with Final Fight stuff. You know, we see stuff with, you know, them posting stuff about Sodom and Rolento, and, you know, we got all the character profiles for all of the Mad Gear gang members, and Skullcross, and even Kyle. Even Kyle exists. Needless to say, if it does happen, I hope they remember that, you know, Lucia, Dean, Maki, Carlos, Kyle. I hope they remember that all of them still exists. I mean, obviously they made character profiles for them, so they have acknowledged their existence. But just oh well, we're gonna do Final Fight 1 all over again type of ordeal.
You know, and I was kind of wondering, like, because it seems like they're positioning Cody as mayor.
Oh yeah, no, he's they actually like legitimately, like, I don't know if you saw that post that they tweeted earlier where it's like, oh, your appointment with the mayor is the 27th, do you confirm? I'm like, oh, okay, he's mayor.
So I'm like, how did he become mayor after he was a felon? Like, it's just like how they, because I was expecting him to come in to Street Fighter V because it's like, okay, he was one of, if not the most popular character in Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
And it's like the only other thing I could think that they were going to do with him, oh, we'll bring him back in his prison style. But then I remember Street Fighter Cross Tekken when you did the ending with him and Guy. That's where they teased it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't know.
Nobody picked up on that. And I was telling people, I'm like, dude, you got to look at oh, crossovers aren't canon. They're implied canon. You have to look at what they're implying to you.
Yeah.
Because they're still telling you about the character. They're just not, it's not a canon situation. It's not a situation that happened in the main timeline. But this is a what if. Okay, if Cody were in this situation, what would he do? It's implied. And like the way I saw it, he wouldn't be dappered up for any other reason other than being mayor.
Right.
But think of the campaign slogan. Cody Travers, wrongfully imprisoned after saving the city.
Right. And it's like, because he took the fall for poison, right? Is that the current canon story?
That's a revenge story. Alpha story is that he kept beating up too many dudes. Like he kept beating up too many. Like he was a ruthless vigilante, and it was getting to a point where things. And then Streetwise had it where he took the fall for Guy. So you had 3 different stories going on.
Oh. Okay. Okay. I mean, my biggest thing is I hope that he plays the same way he does in 4, or a slight variation, because when they brought Sakura over to 5, I used to play her a lot in 4 and even in Alpha, and then trying to play her in 5, I can't. She's
I heard she plays pretty differently from before. Is she more unique though? Like as a Shoto? Would you?
Yeah. Think of how like they changed up Ken. Now,
Ken is like CVS2 Ken. Like they saw CVS2 and like, no, throw that in Street Fighter now.
Right? It's just like a lot of people. I remember when they first allowed you to play Ken in the beta, a lot of people were like, what the hell is wrong with Ken? Why is he so different? And it took me a while to get used to him. But then I'm like, if you're looking at it from a canon perspective, it doesn't make sense, because 3, I think 3 is the latest in the series.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he doesn't play like that anymore unless we're leading up to, I don't know, because because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, with Street Fighter, 3 is the latest in the whole timeline. And I feel like, they did 4 and they did 5. They're kind of like the gaps, because from Street Fighter 2 to 3 was a whole generational gap.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so we've got to fill in the blanks, but I'm wondering, okay, so Street Fighter 6, is this going to be set after?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Hell, I thought that was what they're going to do with Street Fighter 5, that was going to be set after. Or was trying to branch the gap, but it seems like 5 is branching the gap even more.
Yeah.
But as far as Ken goes, I think it's just a kind of a game logic kind of thing. Because, I mean, even in 3, he did feel a little bit more kick-based. He's just more similar to Ryu. But now it's just kind of like, well, they're pretty much kind of trying to take different versions of Ken and put them into one here. At least from what I'm seeing. Because I haven't really played a lot of 5 outside of when I played, at Evo and stuff like that. None of my friends have it. None of my friends have 5. It's kind of weird to me. Just as far as like a lot, because I was wondering, Ed and these other people, Neo Shadow, like what happens to all these guys when 3, are they just kind of off somewhere, or
Yeah, that's true.
As far as that, and it's like, man, are they gonna reboot 3? What's gonna happen with that? Because that's gonna be an issue. Like, I don't think they can do that.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have the problem of the actual gameplay itself. So it's like, well, yeah, they can reboot it story-wise, fine. That's great and dandy, but what are you gonna do about the gameplay? Are you gonna be able to actually give the Street Fighter 3 fans what they want as far as the gameplay goes in delivering that. So as far as Cody goes, I think he's probably going to play different, honestly. I don't know if I would mind too much. I would like to see like how he plays without the cuffs. Is it going to be more classic style? Is he still going to do some of the stuff that he does? Like throwing rocks and have knife stuff like that to stick around because that's unique to him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I was playing Street Fighter 4 last night. I was playing the Ultra Street Fighter 4, and I was like, man, he's so smooth. Like, I guess his mayor, I'm like, could he use the knives? Is he still gonna do the Zonk Knuckle or the Criminal Up? I don't even think he can call it Criminal Upper anymore.
Yeah, what is it gonna be now? Mayoral Upper? Justice Upper?
Because if you think about it, he looks like the dude Roy from Project Justice.
Yeah. I think a lot of people picked up on that too. Now, another thing that kind of hinted at him being mayor too, though, is that in his alternate costumes, he's wearing Hagar's clothes. And literally Hagar's clothes.
Really?
Did you see that? Yeah, did you see a little because there was a picture that was posted not too long after Sakura's trailer. It was posted back then, and it was a picture of his alternate because it showed all the story costumes for all the. And his story costume is him in Hagar's clothes, literally Hagar's clothes, not the same clothes as Hagar. Literally the clothes and the fucking pants are baggy on it. And I'm like, what the hell is this? That hinted at him being there for me.
Now I've got to see this.
Yeah, look up Cody Street Fighter 5 should pop up. In fact, I'll probably look for it too, just to see if it pops up too.
Oh man. All right, so we down to the last question I have, and it's Streets of Rage. Honestly, is hand down one of the greatest brawlers of all time. What do you think pushed Sega to make it rival and exceed Final Fight?
Really, it didn't really rival Final Fight until Streets of Rage 2. Ironically enough, Streets of Rage 1 introduced a lot of cool stuff, and it did great because of the fact that it had co-op and everything. But it was pretty rough around the edges. But it wasn't so much Sega as it was Ancient.
Mm-hmm.
Developers of 2, and 2 is the only game that they developed out of the trilogy. And it doesn't seem like they were trying to beat Final Fight. It seems like they were trying to just do their own thing. They wanted to make a solid beat 'em up shit, period. But Ancient was very influenced by Street Fighter 2 when they were making Street of Rage 2. That's why the AI is so damn good. That's why the combat flows so well in comparison to Final Fight 3 and Final Fight 1. I mean, not Final Fight 3, Streets of Rage 3 and Streets of Rage 1. Because it's comboing into, that's why stuff like combo into grand uppers feels so good. Because it was they were essentially taking fighting game mechanics and putting it into a beat 'em up.
Yeah.
Which is ironically something you would have thought Final Fight would have done.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know if they're focused with Final Fight starting off in the series, but when they got to a point of actually beating Final Fight, it seems like they were just more influenced by, what if we take fighting elements and put it into a beat 'em up kind of thing? Ancient was just dead set on making a good game. They probably looked at Final Fight briefly for stuff, but for the most part, they were looking at Street Fighter 2 for their influence, and that's when the game actually started really competing with Final Fight to me.
And if you had to pick, okay, I'm gonna give you 2 different scenarios. I wanted you to pick a winner in these two showdowns. So if you had Axel versus Cody, who would win?
Cody would win. Honestly, Axel does have his feet in comparison, but I have not seen Axel break through a super solid ass brick wall with no effort whatsoever. I mean, just take Streets of Rage 3, for example, where if we're running away from the bulldozer. They're breaking down concrete walls. Takes quite a few hits. Cody does it in one hit. That and Cody does nothing but fight, whereas Axel fights for necessity. So I would probably say Cody would win in a street fight.
Okay. All right. So Cody versus Terry Bogard.
Oh man, that was tough. But I think it's mainly tough because I don't know a lot about Fatal Fury. Like I haven't really got into SNK fighters a lot. But from what I read, that would be a pretty damn good match. From what I've read of Terry, I would kind of have to lean a little bit on Terry for that one.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not entirely sure because there's a lot of people saying that Terry would kind of match up to Ken, and if that's the case, then Cody wins. Sorry, I mean.
See, right. The only reason I say it could be a tie is because, in a way, if you look at the background stories of Fatal Fury and even in a way Final Fight, you could say that, you know, Cody and Guy are kind of like, or Terry and Andy are basically like Cody and Guy. Like Guy, really, I don't think he's really beaten Cody in a fight. It's the same way with Andy.
I haven't even beaten Ryu in a fight.
Ryu
beat Guy back in the day.
Damn.
Like they had a fight. There was like an actual fight during the Alpha series, and he beat Guy. So Guy hasn't even beat Ryu. So yeah, Guy is not even on the level of like Cody.
So that explains all the shit talking Cody does to him in Street Fighter 4 when they're fighting.
So much shit the guy. Like, Guy gets so much shit. Poor Guy, man. And then you get that fucking Hagar who you know, who can suplex, you know, Galactus and shit. I mean, Guy has, he's a ninja. I mean, you know, he can go off of that at least, right? You got Mayor Cody over here who could punch through solid brick wall with ease. You got former Mayor Hagar who can suplex a galactic being. And then you got the ninja.
I mean, but, you know, considering Cody can punch brick walls like with ease, like if you think about it, Terry, I mean, if he does his power gazer, because he's able to like knock out steel bars, like steel frames for buildings. So I think it would be an equal fight since they're both street fighters, but in the sense of who would fight dirty, I don't think Terry would.
Yeah, see, Terry's not a dirty fighter. So that's why I kind of have to lean on Cody a little bit because Cody's going to do what needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, that's why I'm not understanding why people compare Terry to Ken because, I mean, yeah, Ken's good at what he does, but he doesn't seem as focused, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because, like, between Ken and Ryu, some people are saying Ken is actually better than Ryu because he has more to fight for. So it's power scaling is kind of weird in that kind of regard, but it's like, yeah, you hear stuff about Cody, and it's like, damn, Cody's actually stronger than these dudes, but he just doesn't apply himself.
Yeah.
Which is ironic.
Every time like they do the comparison of SNK and Capcom, and they keep pairing up Ken and Terry, I'm like, if anything, I'd rather see Terry up against Cody, Andy against Guy. And if we're really going to compare Ryu and Ken to anyone, I don't even think, okay, if we were to compare, like, if we go by Capcom versus SNK, how they compare Kyo and Yori to Ryu and Ken, I don't think they're in the same league as Ryu and Ken, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about the scaling. It just feels like they just kind of tossed them together because they're popular characters.
Yeah, I would have put Rio and Robert. I mean, that to me that makes the most sense.
Yeah,
Rio, you know, because
Rio and Robert seem more comparable to Ryu and Ken.
yeah. So I mean, I would have rather seen them do that. But that was a comparison I wanted to throw out there. You got any thoughts, man? Any closing thoughts or anything?
Man, all the stuff that we talked about right now, like I'm just really excited about like seeing where Street Fighter is gonna go with Cody.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? One thing I did want to talk about, and we were talking about in the chat, E3. Like, what do you think is gonna happen with E3? Because I haven't been excited for E3 in years. Last year I got pretty excited. You know, I fell off of E3 for quite a while, so it's kind of hard for me to like get hype and even think about what I would even want to see at E3 right now. Like, I got a few ideas. Like, yeah, I would like to probably see, you know, what you know the Yakuza team plans to do with Yakuza. You know, if they have anything to announce. But it's like with all the stuff going on in Yakuza, I'm kind of satisfied with Yakuza right now. So even if they didn't announce anything, I'm cool with it. I'd like to see more Shenmue 3 and Mortal Kombat 11, of course. But I can't really think of anything else that I would be excited about.
Insider information I'll drop. We're gonna see more Kombat 11.
Oh, of course. well, I mean, NRS that's just what they do.
Yeah,
I'm 100% expecting it to happen. If they didn't, I'd be baffled if they didn't announce Mortal Kombat 11.
like, as far as E3 goes, man, I keep hearing a lot of people. Everyone's talking about PlayStation 5. It annoys the living hell out of me because I mostly see this from you know, a lot of young Thundercats. God, I'm sounding old by saying that. but you know, a lot of these young YouTubers and gamers that were probably born in 99 or 97, and the only thing that they know growing up was the 360 and the PS3, or maybe the PlayStation 2 when they, you know, it's tail end of it. But it's like, you know, gamers nowadays, it seems like all they care about is specs, and they don't really care about, you know, specs and frame rate. They don't really care about how a game plays. Is it fun? Like I think that's something like our generation we cared about.
The frame rate stuff is great as it is. Like, how much more fluid do you need it to be?
Yeah. You know,
I mean, it's more fluid than
real life. Right? So it's like you know.
Ever see,
no, go ahead.
But you ever see like a recording like on a very good camera, and this was like when this first happened to me, it was really jarring because I didn't realize like stuff like that they didn't do it at 60 frames per second. I didn't know they didn't do that. So when I started seeing shows and stuff at 60 frames per second, I'm like, what the fuck? That's weird. It's like that right in front of me. So it's like, but now games are so damn fluid that it doesn't even look like how we would look at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
It's like you look more fluid than I do walking. It's almost unreal. Like how much more frame rate do you need?
Exactly, man. And that's the thing that just gets me. Is like, you know, I hear like anytime something's coming to the Switch or coming to the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, it's always, well, what's the frame rates? You know, what's the resolution on it? I'm like, do you care if it's fun?
Yeah, that's what I care about. No, doing the good if it has all the great frame rate in the world. If I only play it once and never play it again.
Yeah. so it's just, I don't know, like this whole PlayStation 5 stuff. A lot of people running off that Twitter, whatever about it's in the last phases of its life cycle. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, what I'd like to see in the PlayStation 5, I want it to be backwards compatible. I'm like, but Sony's already proven that you guys don't even care about backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, and I guess, too, I'm used to coming off of the 360 PS3 era, they ran that generation a long time.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the One X having come out, which to me the One X is a new generation.
Yeah.
And then with the Pro, which is a nice spec bump up from the original, I feel like there's no need in us dropping a new console because it's like, what are we gonna do with the new one coming out? Look at the PlayStation 4. That was port city of damn near every AAA first party Sony game that they had. They didn't put out any real original IPs for at least 3 years into the console life cycle.
That's the thing that bothers me most. I'm not even seeing a lot of new stuff for the current generation right now. It's a lot of ports and backwards compatibility and stuff like that. I mean, but see, I'm not bothered by it. You want to know why? Because when PS5 comes out, then PS4 is going to have a price drop, and I don't have to spend as much money on it.
Right?
I'm gonna wait for that price drop. I'm just gonna pick it up and go scoop up all those games while people play that one game that's on PS5.
Yeah.
And all the other ports that they could be playing on PS4.
I just feel like if you were to break down like the last 3 generations of PlayStation and the last 2 generations of the Xbox and even Nintendo, comparing it to the current iteration of the PlayStation 4, Sony does not have that many stellar first party games.
Yeah.
Not this generation. And it's like, okay, so we're gonna end it with what, Days Gone or Last of Us 2. These are games that are more so, and this is something I'm noticing with Sony, and I notice a lot of Sony and Nintendo fans don't want to say it, but I'll call it out on it. Sony games seem more like interactive movies than actual games. They're very simple, they're very cinematic, and they're a kind of a one-time experience where you're not going to go back to it. And that's completely opposite of what Nintendo and Microsoft are doing.
Yeah. Honestly, that's why I don't have a PS4 right now. Like, it's not even because, it's not even an exclusivity thing for me. It's just there's nothing that interests me on the PlayStation other than Yakuza. And then Yakuza and Street Fighter 5, that's about it. Everything else is either on other platforms where I can find it, or they're just not interesting enough for me to go pick up a console.
Yep.
I actually had that with PS3.
Yeah. And then the games on PS3 didn't run as good as the 360 at all.
Yeah, that was another issue too. So I'm like, well, the games that are multi-platform run better on the 360, and then the exclusive stuff for PS3 didn't interest me either. Like, it wasn't until later in PS3's in cycle where you start getting these collections like, Jack and Dexter HD, the Kingdom Hearts collection and all that stuff. That's the stuff that's sitting in my closet right now, like the compilations and re-releases and stuff.
Yeah.
But the God of War collection and stuff, like, I don't really have a lot of stuff that really interests me in the PS3 or PS4.
Yeah. I as far as E3 goes, man, there's really nothing that's really excited me. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing that new Fighting Layer EX. I got to play the beta for you got to try it?
I didn't get to play the beta. I played it at Evo back when it first talked about it last year. I played it over at Evo. Really fun game.
Yeah, it seems like it takes I'm not sure if it plays more like Street Fighter 5 or more like Street Fighter 4.
It's actually more like Street Fighter EX.
Hmm.
It plays a lot like the EX series.
Oh yeah,
which is like
Arika owns that series, right?
They don't own the EX series, the original characters that were in the EX series. Oh. And I guess they kind of own that fighting system.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're using, Fighter Layer EX, which is great. It makes it unique, and I always liked how EX played. So, but that's yet another PS4 exclusive. So I'm just like, all right, well, I guess I'll just have to wait till I get a PS4 to get it,
Yeah. I mean, between that, Metroid Prime 4, I'm not a Smash Brothers fan, which is, I get a lot of crap for that. I view Smash Brothers as a party game.
I used to love Smash Bros. Like the first 2 games, I really love Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Here is the weird thing. Smash Bros. Is like Soul Calibur for me. Whereas the first 2 games I love the hell out of, and the rest of them I just kind of buy on principle.
Okay, we're in the same boat because I love the 64 one. I used to play the crap out of that. Yeah. I loved Melee, but I never got to the point where I'm obsessed with it, with like a lot of people are. Brawl and the last one that came out, I kind of just got it on principle. I didn't.
Yeah, because it's a game where it's like, okay, well, if I got people over, I can hand out some ass whoopings,
right,
and have some fun with that. So it's like, that's the thing. Like with my family, like Soul Calibur was the game at the birthday party. If you're playing a fighting game, you're playing Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
Or occasionally, if somebody brought Tekken over, you're playing Tekken. But no, if you're playing something, you're playing Soul Calibur. And actually, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the new Soul Calibur, but kind of not. That, I mean, that's like Soul Calibur and Smash are like the same for me. Whereas like I really love the first 2 games, and the rest of the games are all right. But I buy them on principle because that's just what we play when we got a lot of people over and we're partying and stuff like that. And then of course there's Mortal Kombat, where it's like I feel like I have some kind of loyalty to the brand or something without really having the loyalty, because like every Mortal Kombat game, I'm like, yeah, I'm copping that. Like, it's just like I have this little spider sense where it's just like, yeah, it's gonna have everything Mortal Kombat has. I'm just gonna buy it.
Oh man, I'm thinking we're gonna get Virtua Fighter 6.
Oh, I'm hoping for that. Final,
because of Virtua Fighter 5 being a major draw for people in Yakuza 6. So
yeah. Well, they knew they were doing that.
Because I felt like that was like, we're gonna test this out. So
I kind of wonder what they're gonna do with Virtua Fighter 6. The Virtua Fighter interests me in a sense of like it's so damn reserved. It's like, what are they gonna do with it though? Because when they brought back the sumo dude, I'm like, all right. Like it's something to get hyped for, but at the same time, it's like they're not doing a lot, but they don't have to do a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I can get more of the same with this game. I don't care. I like it.
Yeah.
It's like, one character they're gonna add though. Who's that one character?
And it's gonna be a hard sell too, because of how technically deep and sound it is. It's really not accessible for new players.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are gonna be not wanting to try it, but then that same argument kind of falls flat because Virtua Fighter 4 was insanely popular.
Yeah.
That it destroyed Tekken 4.
I love me some 4, man. I love Evo too. Speaking of which, this is where we on some BS, man. Vanessa.
Oh,
why did you buy Vanessa like her, man? They got rid of the voice actor, dolled her up, brightened her up. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. And then they changed up her moveset too, and they gave it to Brad.
Yeah, that too. I was like, oh, dude, what are you doing? Stop.
She was like the most versatile fighter in 4. And I'm like, I loved it because you could just switch styles on the fly. And then they brought around Brad came in, was it 4 Evo? I think it's 4 Evo.
Yeah.
And then they just stripped that from it.
Brought Gene Kujo and Takahashi.
Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, I did like the Evo version of Vanessa a bit. a little bit more than a 4.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because it was just a little bit more straightforward moveset. But yeah, I didn't like that they took away that style either. Like I felt like they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But at least they transferred to another character, and they're just like, okay, well, we'll bring a new character in. I do like playing as Brad a lot. Brad is pretty fucking cool. So
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't lose too much there. But yeah, as far as her like visual design, I did not like what VFI did with her. It really grated on me because I'm like, well, she's the only black chick in the game, dude. Like, what the? It's like, man, why don't you just make a new character if you want to do that?
I wonder if there was backlash from the Japanese market.
I think it was just a thing that like, because Japan doesn't really understand. Well, at least at that time, they didn't understand stuff that was going on out here. And it's kind of weird because I've talked to a lot of my friends out there that like Japanese artists and stuff, and I actually had to explain to them what black features are.
Oh wow!
Because and that was like back then, because when they would draw the black characters, I'm like, well, they don't really have any black features. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, fuller lips, bigger nose, like me. It's like we're not like darker white dudes, like.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's just interesting, the cultural difference. It's like there are a lot about brighter skin out there too, but not for the same reasons as it is out here.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of thing like that, and I don't really think they're too in touch with their U.S. fan base. It doesn't seem like so. Any backlash from that, they probably didn't really receive much of it,
Sure. Well, all right, man. Anything else you want to leave people with? Where can they find you? What projects you're working on, or what can they look forward to going forward?
Well, as I said, right now, I'm stuck trying to figure out a new place to live. So it's not a lot I can do right now, but yeah, just find me at Brawls Avenue. Mostly Brawls Avenue. I haven't really done anything on my Disney Abary channels or anything like that yet. I do post a lot of my works and stuff on those channels. Mm-hmm. So if you guys are looking for my projects, Project Neo, Deadly Metropolis, you're very likely to find it there. I'm also a little bit about this. I've been kind of working on it, it's no secret, but I am trying to build up to opening an arcade eventually. So look forward to that. And then also I got the Streets of Rage figures. I'm trying to secure those still so that I can put them up on my shop and fill some pre-orders that were opened up for that. So yeah, just find me mostly on Brawlers Avenue. If you guys don't have Discord, please fix that because Discord is awesome. And then find me on Discord through Brawlers Avenue as well. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, man. Sounds good. This has been another fun episode. I know we ran a little long. I know it's 3-hour time difference, so I think it's like 11 o'clock there.
Yeah, I'd be up until like 2-3 o'clock in the morning usually, and then sometimes my kid condition kicks in or whatever and knocks me up to 8 o'clock in the morning. Just like, so yeah, I'm a bit of a night owl anyway.
All right.
But I do look forward to having those group podcasts as well, man. If we can coordinate that somehow.
And see, that's the hardest thing is like every time I'm trying to do a podcast, like I have to figure out like the time difference between, me and my guests, because most of my guests either they're, in Central or they're on the East Coast. Sometimes they're in the UK, and it's like a whole day and 10-hour difference. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's the worst when they're in the UK because like you can't sync them with them at all, man. That's just So that's what's tough about streaming beat 'em ups too, because there's a lot of UK fans that watch me, but it's like by the time I get on, they're already in bed and stuff, and it's like, damn, I gotta stream I either have to try to stream in the morning or the afternoon or something to catch that demographic. But I'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, man. We're definitely gonna have to get that collaboration podcast going. I got to figure out everybody's schedules. I'll probably do like a group Twitter message to everyone so we can just get like times down, because the scheduling that's gonna be the hardest thing right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this was fun. I enjoyed, you know, the banner. We got to chop it up. Got to talk some brawlers, some fighters. Got to talk some fighting rage. And I'm just hoping everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. I had fun. I hope you had fun. And this will be up on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. What else are we on? We're on Shout Engine, as well as we're soon going to be coming to Spotify and Amazon Music. Still in the works of getting approved for that, but this will be up in the next couple hours. And yeah, man, all the links, if you guys haven't already, follow Den on Twitter or the Brawlers Avenue or Streets of Rage online. All the links, everything is down in the description below. You'll be able to find them there. So give them a follow on Twitter. Also included Den's Twitch. So follow him on Twitch, and also have the links to his YouTube channel also. So make sure you subscribe, you ding the notification bell, and go ahead and support my man. He's phenomenal. And yeah, man, that's all I got. Anything you want to say?
Man, I gotta get on your level, man. Getting on Spotify and stuff.
I'll show you, man. Like, I try to tell people, man, podcasts, I feel like it's an untapped market, like doing podcasts, because it's amazing. Like, if I could transition over my list, the amount of people that listen to the podcast on, transitioning from podcast to YouTube, I'd be happy. But doing podcasts, like I guess, I can get hundreds of thousands of downloads or listens within mere hours. Whereas, like, I'm on YouTube, okay, I'm lucky if I get 100 views on a video, and especially with all the stuff YouTube's doing now. YouTube.
I would actually recommend going to Twitch, honestly, because that's why I'm already an affiliate on Twitch, and I haven't really done much. It seems like I'm just kind of handing it out like candy right now. So it's a good time to kind of jump to Twitch, or experiment with Twitch a little bit. I feel like a lot of people are starting to move over to there, and because I'm still post like videos on YouTube, but as far as streaming goes, like I don't do streaming on YouTube anymore. It was just too much to deal with in comparison to just going on Twitch and just doing my thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking about shifting the podcast over from because someone told me that I should actually shift it over to Twitch and not have it so much on YouTube. So
yeah, because you can do anything on Twitch now. Like you can set categories for, like, if you want to do like more real life topics or something like that, you can set it to IRL as far as stuff like that. So it's not just games anymore. Now it's creative. Now there's IRL. It's people who I actually get on my personal Twitch, my Denny Abary Twitch sometimes to Sprite. I just Sprite and talk to the chat. And, of course, with Brawlers Avenue, I'm always playing beat 'em ups and stuff. So, it's a variety of things you can do on Twitch now. Like, they're stepping the game up, for sure. And they're integrating with Discord, too. So, if you ever decide you want to make a Discord server, you got that integration as well.
Cool. All right, man. And that's going to wrap up this episode. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun. Everyone, all the links for everything is down in the description below. It'll be up on iTunes and Google Play and other avenues within, the next couple hours. So with that being said, thank y'all for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one.
One more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
So somebody in the chat, they're like, I want that hat. I'm going to be getting more of these from my shop. So I get it all the time. Every time I wear the hat, I'm like, man, where did I get that hat? I'm like, you heard of Brawlers Avenue?
Yeah, if you want, man, I can if you want the Brawlers Avenue Discord link, I can add that to the links as well if you want.
Yeah, that would definitely help because I connect with people a lot on Discord, man. Discord is a godsend, dude.
Yeah.
My bad. I didn't want to interrupt your outro though.
No, man, that's fine. It's fine. So with that being said, people, we'll catch you on the next one. Thank y'all for tuning in.